Hey everyone, it's Cashew. Today's adventure brings us to Westchester, Ohio, to the National Voice of America Museum of Broadcasting. In the 1940s, the Voice of America would broadcast to foreign countries to help combat Nazi propaganda. And now they have a museum, so let's go check it out. Our adventure starts here. This historical marker in front of the museum is pretty cool. It says, "The Voice of America, Bethany Station." During the height of World War II, President Franklin Roosevelt turned to the innovative engineers of the Crosley Broadcasting Corporation to build powerful shortwave radio transmitters capable of delivering broadcasts overseas. On farm fields near Crosley's WLW facility, and WLW still exists today, it's Channel 5 in Cincinnati, 6 200 kilowatt transmitters and 24 directional reentrant rhombic antennas were built, and on September 23, 1944, the Voice of America Bethany Station was dedicated. The first broadcast was directed at Nazi Germany and began with, "We shall speak to you about America and the war. The news may be good or it may be bad, but we will tell you the truth." For more than 50 years, the Voice of America Bethany Station delivered truthful news to the people of Europe, Africa, South America, and parts of Asia, despite some, like Adolf Hitler, who referred to the VOA as those Cincinnati liars. New technology and budget cuts resulted in the silencing of the Bethany Station in 1994. This is a 1951 Crosley Hotshot. During World War II, Crosley lost out to a bid on making the Jeeps for the Army because he did not create vehicles that were four-wheel drive. This is a Crosley engine. The Crosley Hotshot was the first American sports car. These are Rhett Turner's VOA press passes for the Apollo missions. Back in the 1970s, puppeteer Larry Smith had a program on Channel 19, and these are two of his puppets, Mr. Riddle Dee the Wizard and Buzzy the Bear. And this whole section is devoted to the Larry Smith puppet show. This castle was one of the sets for the show. Let me introduce you to some of the characters. This is Rudy and Teaser, Snarfy R Dog, Mean Old Cat, Hattie the Witch, and Spooky the Ghost. Two of my favorites were Nasty Old Thing and Buddy Boy. And these are some of his other oversized puppets. This is Harry the Hairy Ape. Here's John and Marcia. And this is Grandpa. In this cabinet are puppets that Larry Smith made to promote local businesses. These are puppets for Pat and Joe's Furniture Store, Potsy Balloon of Potter's Shoes, and Tiger Red of Tiger Red Soda. Here's Larry Smith with some of his puppets. This is another Cincinnati performer. This is the Cool Ghoul, and he performed around the same time as Larry Smith's puppets. This is another early Cincinnati performer, Ruth Lyons. She had a program on WLW, and she also did some work for WKRC. Ruth Lyons went on to have her own TV show on WLW TV, and now she's best known for the Ruth Lyons Children's Fund, which gives toys to children at Children's Hospital. Ruth Lyons hated microphones, so she would have 10 of them, and each one was decorated differently to match her outfits. And here are some of the station's early performers. Rod Serling. I don't know if you can tell from the glare, but this is Grandpa Jones from Hee Haw. Some of you might remember Eddie Albert from Green Acres. Doris Day, the Ink Spots, and Fats Waller, just to name a few. If you're familiar with the Town Hall dance party that occurred on the West Coast that had people like Wanda Jackson and Johnny Cash on the show, this was Cincinnati's equivalent, the Midwestern Hayride. The museum does an excellent job displaying their artifacts. I don't know if it's intentional or coincidental, but this mannequin looks a lot like Rosemary Clooney, who did perform for the radio station. These costumes belong to Uncle Al and Captain Wendy, and they had a children's program here in Cincinnati. And here's a publicity shot of Uncle Al and Captain Wendy. Uncle Al always played an accordion. And here are some early promotional materials of Uncle Al and Captain Wendy, also known as Al and Wanda Lewis. This is another performer from Cincinnati who had a children's show, Glenn Ryle, also known as Skipper Ryle. He later went on to be on the Channel 12 News. They have a lot of television cameras from the early days, and they are huge. And this is a teleprompter where performers and newscasters would read their scripts. If you've not seen my vlog on Rosemary Clooney's house, check it out. In that vlog, I talked to George Clooney's mom. Well, this is Nick Clooney, George Clooney's dad. Nick went on to become a newscaster for Channel 12 News. Norman Bates, is that you? This is really cool. This is a mock-up of a 1950 radio studio. Remember, when you play it, say it. Just look at the guts of this transmitter. In some countries, listening to the Voice of America could have harsh penalties. Wow, check out this console. No wonder they could broadcast to foreign countries. I read to you on the historical marker how Hitler called the VOA the Cincinnati Liars. Here are a couple of Nazi artifacts they have from the war. Here are some more behind-the-scenes nuts and bolts of the VOA. Back when Voice of America was in operation, this is how it looked. When you compare the size of the building with the size of the radio towers, you can understand why they were able to communicate with foreign countries so easily. While we're here, let's take a look at some of the Crosley appliances. This is the Shelvador, and it's unique for a couple of reasons. One, it's a refrigerator radio combo, and for another, it was the first refrigerator to have shelves in the door. Fragile, must be Italian. This is a collection of Crosley televisions. This Crosley living room radio was built in 1939. Within a couple of years, this radio probably broadcasted the news that Pearl Harbor had been attacked. When you compare these radios from the 1950s to those from the 1930s, they came a long way. Even though Crosley lost the bid for the Jeep, he did make radios for the military. I think I'll stick with my iPhone. And while you're here, visit the Gray History of Wireless Museum. This is a 1927 police transmitter, and if you saw my vlog on the Cincinnati Police Museum, this is what they used. How many of you are familiar with this image? This is Nipper, the Rca Dog. I first became acquainted with this image on a 45 of Elvis. Coincidentally, it was Hound Dog. This is the antenna matrix, and depending on the ion levels, some days they could reach Russia, and other days they couldn't. And so somebody would have to come out here and manually flip the switches. And they had no problem doing that in any kind of weather. There was only one thing that deterred them: skunks. When the lights were on, it attracted June bugs, and the June bugs attracted skunks. And one of the volunteers told me that if somebody got sprayed with a skunk, they were not allowed back in the building and they had to go home. And these are the switches they'd have to come out and flip. Before the Voice of America, the U.S. had 13 shortwave radio stations. Germany had 68, and Japan had 42. And after Voice of America, this place became the most powerful. This museum is fantastic. The staff is great, very informative, very helpful, and I thought it would be in and out in 30 minutes, but I wasn't. This place covers the history of Voice of America, the Powel Crosley legacy with his appliances and his cars, and it also covers the early days of Cincinnati radio and television. and it's fantastic. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. If you already subscribed to my channel, you know someone who might like it, ask them to subscribe and join us in our adventures. In the description box down below, I'll have links to my Patreon and my PayPal. And so until next time, everyone, this is Cashew signing off. Danger, high voltage. I'm sure that doesn't apply now.